We produce 80% of our food here on our half of an acre, and our greenhouse is a big reason why we're able to be so self-sufficient year-round. In this video, I'll show you how I grow food for the winter time, including citrus, warm season crops, seed starting, plus how to build a simple terracotta heater. Whether you're curious about winter growing or serious about becoming more self-reliant, I'll walk you through exactly how I do it. I have two greenhouses. This is my main greenhouse, and I have another greenhouse that's smaller that's strictly for raising my citrus and avocados in, and I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. This greenhouse is only a 10 by 16, but it serves multiple purposes. I can have fresh tomatoes and cucumbers and all the greens that we can eat all winter long. This is also where I start all of my seedlings at, so that I can get a jump start on my spring planting and get those out into the hoop house or the high tunnel early on so that we have a constant supply of food. On the south side of this greenhouse, I have a raised bed that's about 3 foot wide by 16 foot long. In that raised bed, I can plant 3 indeterminate tomatoes and trellis those, 3 cucumber plants that are trellised, some broccoli plants, and all the greens that we could eat all winter long. Tomatoes and cucumbers will actually live for years in a greenhouse if they don't freeze. But this year was the year that we pulled all of these crops out, and amending the soil is really important, just as important as it is outside. So as you can see, we pulled everything out and added a nice layer of compost as well as some leaf mold in here. This little area here, I've got a lot of greens going just in this little space right here. I've got bok choy, arugula, spinach, as well as lettuce. And as you can see, it's covered because we have a quail that lives in our greenhouse. As you can see, Luna's attracted to it right now. And if I don't cover it, that quail will love those little tender seedlings or their seeds, and I won't have any crop in here. Greens grow really fast in a greenhouse because of the light and that extra warmth. Once you've sowed those seeds and they've germinated, they can be ready to harvest in as little as 3 weeks. And I love the cut and come again varieties because I can start cutting on one end of this bed, and by the time I get down to the other end, the beginning is ready to harvest once again. In my greenhouse, I will grow heirloom tomatoes, and they do beautifully. They'll grow right up into the trellis. I don't need a greenhouse variety tomato in order for them to produce. All I need to do is just shake the tomato vine, and they have everything they need for self-pollination. Cucumbers, on the other hand, I do like to grow a greenhouse variety because they tolerate cooler temperatures, and they produce a lot better in my greenhouse during the winter months. This raised bed also serves another purpose. Because it is on that south side, the sunniest side, it absorbs that heat during the day, which helps keep the greenhouse warmer at night. Our greenhouse runs east to west, making it to where the largest side of the greenhouse is south facing. This allows for a lot of sunshine to come in and a lot of warmth, which is really good for our transplants and the things that we grow in the bed. And it also brings in the heat into the pavers that we have running down the middle. Those pavers absorb that heat, and then they release it at night, helping keep the greenhouse just a little bit warmer. On the north end of my greenhouse, I have a full-length couple of benches at different levels, one being at counter height. This makes it really nice for seed starting. The other, I can store things like the pepper plants that I pulled up in the fall time to overwinter in the greenhouse. Part of being self-sufficient is seed starting. Seed starting is so important for the homestead and your garden. Not only because you have a wider variety that you can grow, say like your heirloom tomatoes, you can also have control of the timing when you start those starts. I can start my starts several weeks ahead of time. That way they're ready to be put out into the garden under the high tunnel at just the right timing, and that increases our self-sufficiency. Seed starting is also a lot easier doing it in a greenhouse than it is inside or in a windowsill. You've got a lot more warmth, you've got a lot more light, which makes for sturdier, healthier plants. In order to have the best onions, I like to start my onions in mid-November, about 12 to 13 weeks before I have to plant them out, usually around the end of February. This gives me a good variety. I love to do storing onions, sweet onions, things like cipollini and red Florence that you can't find at your local nurseries. Brassica crops like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbages, and kale, I usually start from seed in the greenhouse in mid-December. This gives me a huge jump start. It takes them about 6 weeks before they can be planted out, and in that time, I'll have my high tunnel up and I'll plant them under that. That huge jump start gives me that food during the hunger gap period. When I'm growing those warm season crops like tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers, I do have to add some supplementary heat in the greenhouse, or otherwise it'll get too cold in here. It could possibly even freeze if the night was cool enough, and that causes the blossoms to drop, and then I don't get the production. So a little bit of heat when the temperatures drop below 28 degrees. I have the automatic thermostat on this heater that just kicks in and keeps the greenhouse just nice and warm, usually about 45 degrees or maybe even a little bit above, and that's plenty. We do live in a fairly mild climate. We are a growing zone 8A, but our winters can get rather cool and they can dip down into 15 degrees. And if I didn't heat the greenhouse and it was a long night, that can damage any of those warm season crops or those seedlings, so it's actually worth having a little bit of heat as a backup plan. Every greenhouse is a little bit different. The thicknesses of the walls are going to affect it, the location, how much sun it gets during the day, and of course your climate is going to play a huge role in it. I've been growing in this greenhouse for 25 years, so I know its rhythm. It does take a season or two of trials and errors to learn your greenhouse. I don't generally use grow lights in the greenhouse unless we've had a lot of cloudy days. Because if we've had cloudy days, those transplants don't get the sunshine that they need. And so a supplemental light is very beneficial. But you don't want to leave it on 24/7. You want 12 on and 12 off. If your transplants don't get enough sun, they become leggy, and that makes them weak. And that actually sets you back. In our region, we have plenty of light so that our transplants grow strong as long as we don't have those cloudy days. Usually about 8 hours of good light a day. If you live in a region that you don't get that much light, then a supplemental light might be handy. A couple of greenhouse growing tips. If you are using a supplemental light, then you want that light to be close to your starts, usually no more than 6 inches. As the plant grows, you'll go ahead and raise that light to keep it always at that 4 to 6 inches away from your transplants. During the winter time, I hand water. It's not as warm, and so you don't need to water quite as often. If I had an automatic waterer in here, then I might be introducing too much water, too much humidity, and creating molds and mildew in my greenhouse. Even though I'm growing in a greenhouse, during the winter time, I like to use these little cloches to go right over the top of my newly sowed seeds. What this does is it helps hold in just a little extra heat. And when I sow those seeds, I water them and I put a cloche over the top, and that's generally all I need until they've germinated. Once they've germinated, I go ahead and pull those tops off, because if we have too much moisture, that causes dampening off, which is one of the biggest killers of new started seeds. These little seed starting trays and these cloches are from Vigo, and they're nice and sturdy and they'll last you for years. If you're interested in these, then I'll put a link in the description below. Also, having some kind of a fan for air circulation is huge. For one, it helps that air movement and reduces the risk of dampening off. Also, it creates air movement, which is really important to assimilate what the wind does outside. It creates those rocking motions of those stems of those seedlings and makes for a sturdier, stronger stem. Also, if you have a light source that comes from one direction, like we do from the south, then you might find that you want to rotate those trays, because they're always going to lean towards that light. And by rotating them, that just creates a balanced stem. Another thing that's really important when growing in a greenhouse, and this is especially true for warm season crops or those tender crops, you don't want those plants to touch the edge of the polycarbonate or whatever it is your material is, because even though the greenhouse is warm, those edges can get really cold and can transfer those freezing temperatures into the plant, causing damage. This year we got a new greenhouse. This one is to strictly house our citrus and avocado trees so that we have a little bit more room in our main greenhouse. The walls are made out of polycarbonate, and the frame is anodized extruded aluminum, so it'll last for years. It took us about 6 hours to put together, and it was fairly easy. Well, that's because we put our 11-year-old grandson in charge, and he made the assembly easy. It's so good for kids to learn skills early, and he loved doing it and did it by the book. He said it was easier to put together than Legos. And honestly, I hate instructions. If you're interested in a Vigo greenhouse, then I'll put a link in the description below. This helps our channel out so we can continue to make educational videos for you. All of our citrus are in pots, and 2 of those citrus are Meyer lemons that we bought back in 1995, before we even had a greenhouse. I recall I paid $10 or $15 for them, and they were in 5-gallon pots. So that really dates how old those citrus trees are. Here's a little story that I think we could all learn from. When I first bought those Meyer lemons, I knew that they could freeze outside if I left them out over the winter time, so I would bring them into our house. Within a couple of weeks, they would drop all of their blossoms and leaves. What they were doing was going through a shock of not having enough light, and the pots didn't dry out enough, so they were retaining a lot of water. Every year after the danger of frost was gone, I would bring them back outside, usually in a shadier spot of the yard, and they would flourish and start to leaf out once again. But come fall time, we would go through the whole steps all over again. I would bring them in, they'd drop their leaves as well as their blossom. So I never got any fruit off of them for several years until we got a greenhouse. Moral to the story is citrus needs their light, and our house was too dark for that. Perhaps if you have a sunny room, then you might get away with it without dropping their blossoms and their leaves. My 2 Meyer lemons that I got 30 years ago are still living in the same pots. They don't grow much because they're dwarf. I rarely have to prune them, and actually a lot of citrus doesn't mind being root bound. Each of those trees will produce at least 50 to 60 lemons a year, and that's pretty good for a small size lemon tree. Now this year we did have a pot that fell apart, so we upgraded to a larger pot, one of the Vigo pots. And the nice thing about that is it's on wheels. And if you've ever had one of those 20 and 25 gallon pots that are ceramic, they're really heavy, so wheels are essential. Also, if you're interested in one of these Vigo self-watering citrus pots, then I'll put a link in the description below as well. Citrus is fairly easy to care for. Dwarf citruses can live in pots for decades without throwing a temper tantrum. Citrus needs to be kept from freezing in order to produce. Most citrus can tolerate a freeze for several hours, but this causes them to stress and drop their blossoms, which means no production. I feed my citrus trees 2 times a year, in the spring and again in the fall, or if they seem to be lacking and not flourishing. I use a dry organic fertilizer citrus mix. I'll sprinkle it right over the top, and over that, I'll put compost, worm castings, or even some more potting soil. Organic fertilizer works best if it's covered with some kind of a mulch, like that compost or potting soil. Otherwise, it can create a crust and repel water. And you don't want to work it into the soil because you have all those feeder roots right on the top, and you don't want to disturb those. So just a simple layer of your fertilizer, compost over the top of that, and you're good to go. This greenhouse has some rain gutters, and I put buckets at each end to collect that rain water. And I use that water to water my citrus trees. They respond a lot better to it because it's more acidic than our city water that we have here that's more alkali. The citrus love it, and when I have it, I would much rather give them the rainwater than our city water. I don't have a heater in this greenhouse, so I have to watch the weather closely. If the temperatures start to drop below 28 or 25 degrees, then I'll go ahead and light my terracotta heater, and I'll show you how to make that. What you're going to need is some terracotta pots. You'll also need a tray that goes right on the bottom. This is going to be your safety net, and off of that, you're going to need either 3 legs or 3 small pots, because what you want to do is create some airflow on it. Then you're going to need 3 staggering clay pots, a bigger one, a medium one, and a smaller one. You want to make sure that they fit on each other without sliding over each other. You're also going to need a tub of Crisco and 3 long candle wicks. A piece of poly tubing will also be handy. You'll want to take that poly tubing and stick a hole right down in the middle and kind of turn it a little bit. What this is going to do is make a core. This is going to make a home for your wick. You can use another piece of tubing and stick your 3 wicks in that tubing and push them down all the way to the bottom. Once it's pushed down, then push that vegetable oil in that hole just to fill that gap up. You'll want 3 wicks. When we did just 1 wick, we could only get enough heat on those pots that was about 75 degrees and no more than that. With 3 wicks in the vegetable oil, I'm able to bring the temperature up on these pots to about 125 to 135 degrees, and then it radiates the heat from there. Now, if you had a colder environment or a bigger greenhouse, you may be wanting to add more terracotta heaters to keep those temperatures up. 1 3-pound can of vegetable shortening lasts right close to 200 hours with 3 wicks. More wicks will increase the heat, but also lower the burn time. If I ran it for 8 hours a day, that's 25 days of burn time. So with 1 terracotta heater in an 8 by 10 greenhouse, you are raising the temperature about 5 degrees. With 2 terracotta heaters, it will increase 8 to 10 degrees. And if you put a little fan nearby, it moves the air around even better. There are so many variables, but it might be something worth trying. Colder zones, I wouldn't consider it reliable though. You're also going to want to start your candle about 2 or 3 hours before you're actually going to need it, because it needs to build that heat up to get these pots warm to radiate that heat. You also want to place your heater in the middle. You don't want it too close to anything where it can damage any of your plants. Your tray is also a must for safety. Start with putting your tray down and then your air spacers, whether it's little pots or your legs, to create that airflow. You'll want to put your biggest pot down first with the candle lit. This airflow here is going to be enough to keep it going, and the hole here is going to bring that heat upwards. By putting the second pot over the top, you're just increasing the amount of warmth. And then another pot on top of this is going to create even more warmth. And then you have the airflow here. So it's going to continue to go until you end up blowing it out. This little heater is very economical. We've been burning this particular candle here for over 24 hours. And as you can see, it's only gone down about 1/4 of an inch. Now think if you had even a bigger tub of vegetable oil. Obviously, don't be using plastic. You definitely want the terracotta. What's going to happen is the terracotta pots are going to heat up, and then it's going to radiate the heat from there. If you want more ideas on how to grow in a greenhouse or other ideas on how to heat it, then you can check this video out here. I hope that you found this video helpful. And if you have, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a beautiful day, a better tomorrow, and may God bless you.